being honest is what counts. Trying to make the ordinary extraordinary is so much better than starting with the extraordinary.
I think a joke has to stand up on its comedic value, not on whether the person agrees with it or not.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, we talk about things all the time and we haven't got a side.
Right.
We're just discussing them. And that's what a joke is often. A joke is, at its best, discussing something, not coming down on one side or the other, because that's rallying. An offence is good. Offence makes people think. It makes them think. It makes them come up with another argument. If I had made my own little demo of it, because if you think about it, it doesn't jump off the page. You know, middle-aged man says a joke that no one laughs at, looks at the camera, touches tie. I think comedy's, you know, to be performed. I'll tell you my process.
Right, okay, this is it. Probably the biggest single influence on my creative process was something my old English teacher said to me when I was about 13 or 14. He just said, write about what you know. I usually wrote about things that I saw on telly. You know, when we ever had to write a story, it was about a maverick cop or, you know, a cowboy. I always thought my stories were the best, they were more exciting, and whenever I wrote a story and handed it in, I always got it back too melodramatic, write about what you know. And this was frustrating because I was thinking, it's either good or it isn't, you know, and I thought my stories were so... who wouldn't like a story called Ozark about a maverick cop who didn't play by the rules? What? Are you mad? This could be on telly. In fact, I'm sure it was. And all the other kids were getting B's and A's writing about what they did. And then one day, I just got fed up, so I thought I'd teach him a lesson. And I tried to do the most boring story in the world. My mum used to go around a neighbour's house. She was an elderly lady in her 80s. And my mum would go around, you know, every day and clean up, do a bit of shopping and cook her a meal. And sometimes I'd go around there and sort of watch, because I was bored. And it's not an exciting thing for a 13-year-old boy to watch his mum clean up after an old lady. That isn't my idea of fun. So I thought, oh, I'll write a story about that. That is so boring. And I wrote in every detail. I thought I was being really clever. Going, we went round, we came in, there was a smell of tea and lavender and mould. And my mum first started to clean the floor. The old lady said, have you eaten? The old lady said, I haven't eaten today, no. And I did it all when I thought I was being so funny and getting my own back on this teacher. And I handed it in, and I thought that'll show him. And, you know, the next day, he'd marked them all and he was looking at them, handing them out, and he looked at mine, and he just threw it at me like that. And I opened it up, A. And I looked at him, and he just went like that. And it was the proudest moment of my life. It sort of taught me that being honest is what counts. Trying to make the ordinary extraordinary is so much better than starting with the extraordinary, because it doesn't really connect. You watch those sort of shows and it washes over you, you don't think about it the next day. Whereas if something is real for one person, it's touched their life. You know, and I think as a creator and a director, it's your job to make an audience as excited and fascinated about a subject as you are. And real life does that. This reputation of being like a shock comedian or being cruel,
right.
I've never seen it.
Right.
I've never seen that in myself. I think it's, you know, because you deal in taboo subjects and the Golden Globes, you know,
yeah.
I thought, oh, but I mean, I was teasing some millionaires.
Yeah.
That wasn't a room full of wounded soldiers. I
right.
mean, and it's like,
yeah.
and
I'm one of them, but I was playing an outsider because it's nauseating to go out there and go, all right, Brad, hey, George, thanks for letting me use your villa. It's horrible.
Yeah.
You know, people at home aren't winning awards, so I tried to make it more of a spectator sport.
Right.
But I don't think there is any cruelty in my comedy or drama or anything. My favourite show growing up was The Waltons.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Is
there a misperception?
And in my stand-up, even in my stand-up, I deal with taboo subjects, and I talk about this in this new one of Humanity, but I try and explain a joke about a bad thing isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not the same as the bad thing. It's not a bad thing to joke about it. It depends what the joke is. It doesn't have to be pro or anti the bad thing. It could just be, you know, we talk about things all the time and we haven't got a side.
Right.
We're just discussing them. And that's what a joke is often. A joke is, at its best, discussing something, not coming down on one side or the other, because that's rallying. I try and keep politics and, you know, I think a joke has to stand up on its comedic value, not on whether the person agrees with it or not.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But don't you think
So
sometimes
it brings something out
when
of
we're
you.
discussing things like, oh, what do the audience expect or what do they want, there's something in me that says I don't care, it's not up to them. It's not up to them. I'll do exactly what I want, and that, you know, then you come. If you didn't like it, I don't care. Don't come and see me again. Don't ever come and see me again.
I think as long as that's
Because I just don't want to be judged. I really don't want to be judged. What I mean is, I don't change anything that I wouldn't want to do or has ever done to find an audience. I do what I do, and somewhere in the world, there's enough people that want to come and fill that venue. I suppose it's because people think whatever they see of you, that is you. Like, you know, with stand-up, particularly my first 4 stand-ups, it was a persona. I was playing sort of like a pub bore who said the wrong thing, got things wrong.
Right.
You know, that, you know, almost not quite Archie Bunker, but you know, that sort of, you know, there was a veil of irony to it.
Yeah.
And it's great now because people get it, and so I'm still doing those things, but the audience knows that I'm not like that, just like you do with friends, just like you say awful things with friends, and they know you're not like that.
Right.
And so that's nice for them to know your real self, and you can almost go further in your comedy, you know. And it's funny because with everything that happened in the last couple of years, when I started warming this show up, I was worried about playing that persona because there are too many people that would agree with the wrong reasons.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You don't want the wrong round of applause when you're doing irony.
Right.
You know.
You're not afraid of dividing opinion. You're not afraid of, you know, some people saying, I disagree with you.
There's a big difference between comedy and sense of humour, and I think that a comedian's job isn't just to make people laugh. That's easy. That can be a reflex. I mean, you see some comedians that it's the rhythm. They could even throw in a fake punchline. They'd get a laugh. I think it's about making people think about it and why it's funny. And I think comedy is about empathy. I think, you know, I can't laugh at people I don't like. I think you should never be above the audience. There's nothing remotely funny about seeing unfeasibly handsome, brilliant people come out and tell you why they're brilliant. I want to see a putz losing his way, falling over, and getting back up and dusting himself off, and you've always got to see that humanity, that sort of struggle in anything, really. As opposed to changing my personality, no, I don't. But of course, everything you do's got a persona. Chat shows, I'm playing a sort of character. It's not completely me, you know. I never let my guard down. I don't act when I'm on Letterman or Jon Stewart. I don't act completely like I do with my friends. You know, you still edit yourself. You still present. Stand up, it's a persona. I play a brasher, more arrogant, more confident version of myself, and then there's another level on that I usually play the guy who says the wrong thing. You know, the target of my stand-up seem like they're soft targets, but of course the target is the audience's own prejudice and middle-class angst, and me. I mean, I'm always the butt of the joke. I'm ignorant. I come down on the wrong side. A joke I do, Nelson Mandela, what a great guy, often gets a round of applause. I go, incarcerated for over 25 years, released in 1990. He's been out now for 19 years. and he hasn't reoffended. I think he's going straight, which shows you prison does work. So I always I've played getting it wrong, you know. And then in the characters I play, you know, from David Brent to Andy Millman, Dr. Pincus in Ghost Town, they're variations of each other. I always play that putz, that wisecracker in the face of adversity, and I don't apologise for that.
All I want to do now is be more and more uncompromised. You know, I want to be as brave as I can, and I want to be as honest as I can. That's my only aim now. Obviously, I want to make people laugh and it be interesting and do all the things that are structurally important and act well, all those things that are practical things. But my motivation is to explore subjects that, you know, need exploring, and being as honest and as brave as I can, and people can take it. This notion that we as artists or broadcasters, or we say, oh, is that a bit, can the general public take that? I want to go, what do you mean? They're going through real life. Real life is much, much worse. And you think that your show will offend someone, so what? It isn't for the people who are offended, it's the people who are not offended who get something out of it and think for themselves and that aren't cowed and aren't worried about this ridiculous notion that there are things you shouldn't discuss. And I discuss taboo subjects because I want to take the audience to a place it hasn't been before. And so I think the more you get into something, the deeper you go, the more interesting it is. I think it's when you skirt around and purposely make things anodyne to please everyone. You end up pleasing no one. Yeah. I don't see the point. I just scene, right, might take half a day to film it. So if I write a scene and that takes me 5 minutes, I count that as a day's work.
Great.
So I do that. Yeah. Yeah, then I've got the rest of the day free to think. Joking aside, I have honed my creative process down to lots and lots of relaxation and thinking, opening your brain and letting ideas come. Sitting in front of a laptop 8 hours a day is not productive. You've got to live, you've got to go for runs, you've got to sit around doing nothing, you've got to watch TV, you've got to chat, you've got to do lots and lots of normal things. And you know, a creative process shouldn't be admin. It shouldn't be worried about structure and this pandemic has been good for that, because there are literally more hours in the day for you. You know, because I do everything myself, half my day is admin. Yeah. And when you haven't got that, when you haven't got to do stuff because you can't, creativity, it flows.
Nothing gives me an adrenaline rush like coming up with an idea. Honestly, I can't sleep. And if I think of it before I go to bed, I've got to work it over so I don't forget it when I wake up. And that's a lovely thing to wake up to. Oh, that idea, right? You know, and it doesn't get any better than when it's in your head, really. And then you just got to ruin it as little as possible. Now, honestly, when I first started this, I thought I was a writer, right? And I probably only directed because I realised that I could protect the writing, and then I produced to protect the directing. Right. So it's all to protect the idea.